Damn. I never thought I'd see Busy in the wild. In the real wild.
Yeah, I'm a stunt double for Teddy Ruxpin voiceovers.
You know, my dad sold the first ever Teddy Ruxpin.
What the?
Ever. He sold the prototype of the Teddy Ruxpin.
Which ended up turning into Chucky and killing many children in Chicago in 1986.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. Wow. First of all, it's cool that you even know what the fuck Teddy Ruxpin is.
Unless he's got a Teddy Ruxpin.
Seriously?
They still make them.
I don't have a kid or know what it is.
It's a Chucky bear doll. Like it's,
yeah.
Hi, I love you. Like it's a bear that reacts to you. And the new one has to be really more AI than the old shit we had that just had pre-recorded voices if you touched it.
No, it's still pre-recorded. It's creepy shit. It doesn't have like a tape deck in it, but it has these eyes that are digital. They're LED.
Oh, fuck.
So it's like zoop, zoop, and it looks around and it'll kind of track where you are.
So imagine if you're sitting in the room and you're a small child and you have your bear sitting with the pile of toys and all of a sudden his eyes open up and he just turns and looks at you.
That's what a Teddy Ruxpin is?
Yeah, but it also will tell you stories and then probably take all of your personal info and sell it to Amazon.
How did your dad get ground level on that?
I think Panasonic did the electronics for the first speakers inside of it because it has like that very like Barney doll type of feel. But they had one that you could have different tapes, which would go along with books. Mm-hmm. And so my dad was working at Panasonic at that time, and the guy came and showed it to him, and my dad, being who he was, just grabbed it and said, fuck, we'll go sell this thing. And so he actually sold the first one to, I think it was Radio City in Omaha.
In Omaha, yeah.
And he's just driving around with this thing in his car, the prototype, and he's showing other people that. And then he left it there for them to kind of interact with. And the guy called my dad back in a panic. He's like, hey, do you have that Teddy Ruxpin prototype? He's like, no, I left it there at Radio City. He's like, you got to get that back. That is $250,000. This prototype, this is the only one in existence. This is going to be one of the biggest kids' toys ever. Please go get it back. Oh, fuck. So he went back and got it back. But he was the originator, the first salesman of the Teddy Ruxpin.
He sold a $250,000 prototype?
No, he just sold what that was going to be, what that future product was. He didn't actually sell that one. He just left it there as like, oh, it's a little demo. Have some fun with it. And then he came back and they're all looking at it and tossing it around. And it actually had a little tape deck, like a Walkman recorder built into the back. And it would sync up so the mouse would talk all animatronic like Chuck E. Cheese.
It's crazy to think about like what people used to think was cute or anything like Nightmare Before Christmas and all those things that are just the spookiest things ever now.
And then it's crazy to think what people used to think was scary.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've swapped. Cute kids' toys are scary as shit, but The Shining isn't even a little bit scary.
It's a comedy now.
It's a comedy.
It's a comedy. Like, yeah, I remember when Freddy Krueger first came out, and I was horrified because living in my grandmother's house in the old hood, it's that old house that creaks and makes noises, and you swear to God the house is breathing. So at any moment, Freddy Krueger is going to come out. But by the third Freddy Krueger movie, you just went to see how many times he called somebody a bitch before he killed him. And it just became a comedy. Like, the only thing that's still scary to me, though, is anything religious-based, like possession movies and stuff like that, when, just stuff you can't see. Like, think about Paranormal Activity. You didn't see nothing, but you was on paranoid when you got home from the movie theater because it's the shit that happens when you're asleep. You don't know what goes on in your house when you sleep. That's cool, but then you let a mass murderer like Jason or Michael Myers show up. I'm like, dude, I own 7 guns. I'm not worried about you.
Yeah, you have one machete.
Yeah,
and you can't even see.
And all the people in your movies are stupid and can't kill your ass. They do that. What's the commercial? Let's go hide under the chainsaws. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
But it's a scary place we live in with COVID-19, presidential elections, and just people in general. I think that's scarier than anything else we can think of in a movie right now.
And cell phones in people's hands when they're driving. We almost watched an 8-year-old get hit by a car today.
On the way here.
Yep.
An 8-year-old walking in the street.
No, she was
No.
riding her bike across the cross path, and the lady was on her cell phone while turning,
And Busy almost watched you hit her while you were on your phone.
taking a video of the accident about to happen.
Yeah.
Nah, but everything is recorded these days, so we have plenty of entertainment on our phones.
Yeah, and I'm curious if this is just an exercise of us talking right now, or if this is something that's going to be released. So I don't know how to, I suppose I'll keep
You
it
just
all.
play it back and see if you liked it or not. That's all.
I think I'm liking it so
Should
far.
we do an intro since this is the first one with names?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Should
so
we go
good at-
stage left to right?
Do we do it like the old school Partridge Family or Brady Bunch? Hi, I'm busy. How do you want to do it?
That's exactly.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. So I say you start in the middle. Start in the middle, say who you are, what you do, who are we, and then we'll fill in the blanks after I follow your lead.
If you're watching, you know we are Go Local Group. I am Brandon Frakes, one of the owners and I would say the creator, but the guy who created the first Spark. I do too many things, spin too many plates, as we all do. And I have an awesome family. I suppose I have to say that because Ollie's probably going to watch this.
She'll be one of the first 7.
She'll be one of the first. If you're watching this, then you know exactly who we are. But I'm the guy that comes up with some ideas for these guys and our team to execute. And I'm a pretty fucking lucky guy. I don't know if we can say that word. Just did.
I think we can do whatever the fuck we want on this first one. I'm Gabe. I was the first employee. Well, kinda. Jordan was kind of.
Bicknell was our first run, but
I was kind of the first one that stuck with it.
yeah, I'd say that.
You made the team.
Yeah. And when I started, we were charging $200 to do an entire marketing for a fitness gym and had no idea what we were doing. And I had no idea, no experience with design or anything. And so came on and learned everything through YouTube and through this guy. And then that was 4 years ago.
More than that, right? Was that 16 or was it 17? Or it was 15 or 16?
It was, I graduated 15. It was the beginning of 16.
That's right. Jesus. Yep. So it's gonna be 5 years.
Yep.
Goddamn.
And this is my place. Gang shit.
Yeah. He has there, over my shoulder. For those who are just listening, right behind me, there's an open elevator shaft. It's a part of Gabe's house, and there's a very sizable hole in the cement above him. And we're in a 1920s building. Great patina to the place. Biz?
Shit, I'm the OG of the group. I'm old enough to be these guys. His father or great uncle, one of the two. Anyway, oh yeah, Busy is my name. Real name is Brian, but they just call me by my nickname. And I was rescued from a job that I could not stand, hated it immensely. I'm not scared to say it. The guy that knew that I worked there knows this, and had a little skill set and fun with cameras. I'm a DJ by trade, photographer by trade or whatever, and had fun and met somebody that is from my hometown, Omaha, and said, hey, we have this great little advertising agency and we need somebody for content creation. Interested? That's enough said. The rest is history, as they say. So I spin plates just a little bit slower than they do.
Yeah, but your plates take longer to get moving.
This depends on the plate.
And
I drop some too. Like that shit's
the
messy.
shit's
But anyway,
way tastier after too. Best stuff you can put on a plate.
Yeah.
we're getting there. It does take a little bit of a. The one thing I do love about it was that I learned that my way of doing things was more movie-ish, more old style, old hat, I should say. And then learning from these two and seeing and studying a lot more, and just like we were just talking about before, the evolution of thought process, the evolution of taste, and what people are looking for, just is like skyrocketing. That's what keeps the job interesting, because there's never not a day that you don't have to figure something out. Gabe will call and be like, yo, I need Jupiter to come land on the Dallas North Tollway and 4 aliens to come out driving Ferraris Wednesday. I'm like, bet.
It is Wednesday.
It's Thursday.
But I say it like that. It's like I'm challenging you to figure out something. But there's one thing I'd say that they always give me resources to kind of figure it out because we're inspired by what other people do. So it's not the same old everything every day, and that's what makes it dope. I have a freaking drone in my house that's still in the wrappers that I'm like never thought I would use before. Now we can get it out. We can get moving. So meeting new clients, taking on new ideas, new things, and it just makes you use your brain every day is kind of dope.
Yeah, I like that. And I like, as we're talking about this, obviously the first one we do, hopefully this goes out.
And goes viral.
Oh, yeah, viral.
Quote unquote.
I like that because what the hell is viral? And that's where I want to talk. Who the hell cares about a marketing podcast? But I think people care.
Did we decide that's what this is?
I think we're deciding that's what this isn't.
Okay.
I think this is more just who we are and what we think and how our mindset is different. And I think just exploring how we solve the world's problems. I think that helps us quite a bit because as business talking, it's talking about the different opportunities, and hop and ship is something that you don't enjoy, getting into something you do enjoy, working with the right team. That goes to our clients of who we work with and making sure it's the right fit. But shit, Gabe, before this, you were bartending. You had just graduated with your master's of business, but then before that, plastics engineering. Like, all of those things don't necessarily, they don't all go in a kind of a traditional path. Nothing about you is traditional.
Yeah, I think that's kind of something that we all have in common is we don't have the grind it out where in something that we don't want to do because it might pay out later. We're willing to take a hard stop and go do something that we love to do, and that's more important to us than collecting a paycheck with benefits. And that grind mentality is something that we've just been deeply rooted with, living like cockroaches for like years, building this thing, and now having actual success. And I think,
well, and learning too. And this is one thing. I don't know if you guys were the same way, but there was a young kid. And I'd spoken about it before, but there was a young kid that came down here that wanted to work for us at ICC. And he said, I'm done making other people rich. And I pushed back against that so hard because it's like, all right, let's talk about value you bring to our business. You have no experience. Yeah, you may have drive, but you have no value to me. So you don't just get rich by doing that. And I think that translates to what we've done because we've earned our stripes. We've learned what works, what doesn't work, who to work with, who not to work with. And that makes it so when we put out ideas, we know they're going to work, and we know how to execute them. And I think just that no settle mentality, I think is something that I appreciate about our relationship and what we've been able to do.
That's a milestone as a business. When your business gets to the point to where you can fire clients, that shows you're not dependent for every penny and whatever, and you have values that you're not going to sacrifice. If you know it's not a fit and if you need to get rid of that client, and yeah, you may be able to, but then on top of that, we've also got to the point to now we can replace clients. If something happens, we can go other places. Our reputation and everything that we've done, and we've delivered, and we have plenty to show. That's anybody with an entrepreneurial business just understands not all money is good money. Mm-hmm. Not all relationships are good, and it's like a marriage or a friendship or whatever. If you stay in something toxic, nothing's really going to come good of it. So,
and I think on top of that, not only getting to the point where you can fire clients, but also being to the point where you can vet better and prevent getting into a situation that's not going to work. I think that's something that we've gotten much better at as far as...
And that's a big thanks to you because you're definitely the great check and balance to that. We're like, you toss out, is this right? Mm-hmm. Right for us? Oh, for me, let's fill it. Let's do it. And then we'll find the flow. I'm so jived on the personality that we'll make this thing work.
Exactly.
But then you're like, is this the right decision for us from a business perspective? And it's a big question to ask.
Think about the cigar lounge when somebody brings something new into the lounge. Does the cigar fit? But you also don't just judge the cigar, you judge the person that's presenting it to you as well. Because this is the representative, this is the relationship manager of the cigar that we're going to have to deal with from time on. Could be a great stick, but if he's an asshole, like, do you get another salesperson or whatever? If it's a horrible stick and he's a great guy, do you give it a chance? I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it that.
And the difference is with the cigar lounge, right away, is he a nice guy or does he have a good personality? Yes, that can check out. It takes you 20 minutes to figure out if that cigar is good or if it's shit. But in our world, it takes us months to know, is this product or service something that's going to work or not? And is our relationship going to flow or not? Because that's how we really changed, is instead of just being a project in and out where we just deliver assets and walk away, being a part of what they have so we can feel that connection with their business. It takes a longer bit of, it's a relationship, right? I mean, if this has done anything, it's taught us how to create a relationship.
Oh, by the way, guys, they also have a cigar lounge, the number one cigar lounge in Dallas, Texas. So that's why we went into the cigar thing. We just took it for granted that you knew that if you did not know that. So that's where the cigar reference came from. Okay.
Should we talk about some of the things that we have done?
Sure.
Different clients,
Yeah.
projects?
Yeah. I'm curious to each one of you guys, what has been your favorite project to be a part of?
Mine, hands down, would be Crux Cigars, being my first packaging project, first full design, in hand, labels, boxes, doing the whole brand build from the start into all their video, being able to travel for video, going down to Nicaragua, seeing the entire culture and how much history is in the industry. I think it's been the most that I've been able to completely dive into a new industry too that's new to me, and that's hands down been my favorite as far as just full complete package, everything that we did. They love, great results, just kind of like a slam dunk.
Yeah. And not to mention, to bring it almost full circle, there is the Hogans, particularly Jeff, maybe not as much Casey.
Everybody does that to Case. Sorry, Case, man. I'm riding with you, dog. Everybody does that to you, man. You're cool.
No, but for real, it's a family-owned business, which is really in our pocket of people we want to work with, local and family-owned businesses. And they tick both boxes, and they are just tremendous people, and they know what they're talking about. And they're not going to skimp on quality. And what we were able to do and what you were able to do and bring that stuff to life was so in key and on par with who they are. And I think that's what was really cool, is you built that up so that way you could package it up, kick it over to Biz. And that's right when Biz started coming, when you started working with us.
When I saw when you guys did the debut at the lounge of the new Crux things, that is when I begged, let me work with y'all, because when I saw that up on the screen and how dope these colors look and all that, and then it's oh yeah, he did that. That's when he was Disco Jesus, had long hair. It was crazy. I was like it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. The color palette, how well it looked, how well the cigar bands look. And I'm like, you guys literally created that from scratch. And it wasn't just cigar bands, it was the entire campaign, the look, the Find Your Crux, when they had videos and all that. It meant something. And I'm like, I need to be a part of this. And that was just, when something can actually change your mindset about something you really kind of knew about and you wanted to know more about it, that's it right there.
That's mission accomplished, right? I mean, we have been speaking about you being a part of the team for a year before that, right? I mean, I don't know how long it was, but it was a long while.
We would sit out on Brandon's back patio and we talk about life. It wasn't even about that. It's just, we were both at this thing like, man, I don't know what to do. I want to do this. I want to do it. And I was hating. I had a job. It took me 2 hours to get to work to and from because of Dallas traffic. And you're dealing in a wedding industry company where it was really the beer budget brides. So they come in with $4, but they want $4,000 worth of service, and they just treat you like garbage. And you give them, I'm shooting $10,000 style weddings, but they're looking for every excuse to get their money back. Momzillas, bridezillas. I've had to break up 4 fights with fathers coming into the office angry. It's just crazy. So just to get out of that heck, my brain space wasn't right. It was incredible. Then I come work for a company, and literally my 3rd day at work, we get on an airplane and go to Colorado and shoot some of the most amazing in the mountains at a cabin. Even though I ain't gonna lie, y'all, that shit looked like The Shining. They're all cozied up in the room, and I'm in the room that's next to this long, creepy ass hallway. When I'm thinking 2 twins on tricycles are gonna come coming down the hallway any moment because this house was huge. But
do you remember all the flies and the
in the shower? God. Trying to take a shower, and like the flies, like, can you pass the soap? I'm like, damn, like really?
dead flies just
everywhere because they don't
hundreds of
have
dead
air
flies.
conditioning there. They just open windows, and then the other part
And I think they were not being used for a while.
for a long time it was. But I mean, and then no, y'all, for real, like never go to, what was the forest we went to? The famous forest. We ate lunch, and we got attacked by a horde of bees for 5 miles.
Oh, you're saying the Aspen Grove.
Aspen. We went and had lunch in Aspen, thought it was great. We was being like really dudes and sat out there, and a bee showed up, and like 12 seconds later, 17,000 bees showed up. We're in this ATV doing like 60 on the edge of a cliff, running from, you ever see the cartoons when you got the big old bunch of bees? Yeah, it was that. It was crazy. But anyway,
Now,
I'm sorry.
I don't know if that's fully the truth.
Every time we stopped, bees didn't show up.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. AB. All I know is I know where Biz is from. My dad's from the same area. Biz can get his way around. I'm not afraid of him. He's not afraid of shit. He's like this. Biz,
Bees.
North Omaha.
I'm messing with
We're sitting up there, and I really realized how white Gabe and I were, because we were up there. Bees were going around like, ooh, all right, don't flick the bees. Biz is like, bye. I'm out.
I packed my bologna sandwich and headed to the ATV, had the engine started and everything, and let's go. I ain't getting stung by little girls on tricycles in a haunted house and bees. That was my first experience here. But soon after that, we jumped on a plane and went to Nicaragua. And that was life-changing, because to see how one of these comes to life from the field, and we filmed it. We filmed it from literally a seedling all the way to learning the process as a full, what it takes to make a cigar, to meeting Nestor. You know, you're at Placencia. I took photos of probably the biggest cigar growing guy.
He's one of the wealthiest guys in Latin America, period.
And I'm taking his portrait, and he's like, wow. And then the angry guy that worked in the back, that was dope too. But I would say for me, that was probably working the Crux deal, the show to do Artisans, which is a piece I need to check out. That was life-changing to me, because even though I was given direction, I was filming stuff I've never filmed before and pushed the methods, the techniques, and all that. That's actually bringing me up to speed with what the world does today. Personally, I'm probably going to say the Mayor Cheney re-election campaign was my funnest moment doing.
And I think one thing that I liked about that is Mayor Cheney was an underdog in the first election. We worked with him. We'll talk through that. But then we got into his reelection, and there were a few people that were waiting to run against him. And we had this deadline. We're like, we have 2 weeks to make it so the potential contenders sit on their hands and they don't do this. So we had a quick project that had to turn out, that had to be strong enough where people said, no, I'm not going to win this. And that was your first handoff project yourself. And ultimately, he ended up running unopposed.
Unopposed. The video
I think
was dope.
a big part was because of that video.
The dopest thing to me was what
Vizio.
filmmakers do when they say you like make a movie and you go to the actual theater to watch an audience reaction. So when they played the video at his re-election party or whatever, and like we're all in the back of the room and I'm looking to see what people, ooh, ah, laugh, do all the reactions you want them to do. And when they did it and they clapped at it, I was like, yeah, we did that shit. You know, you feel proud because it did what it was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. You know, but
It created action or inaction, right, for the right people.
And on the note of the first election, that was kind of a growing moment, stepping stone for the company.
That's probably, if I look at, I have a ton of really solid memories, but I think that was one of my favorite experiences because I was sitting and having coffee with Ashley Miller, just an absolute sweetheart. And this was when we didn't know what Go Local was, what it was going to be, what we're going to do. And she said, "You want to hang over? There's this guy who's going to run for mayor. You want to sit in this meeting?" And we sat, and I sat in on it and went, my only value is going to be staying silent here. And I threw out a couple options, suggestions, and they landed. And it went from a meeting that I wasn't even going to sit in on to sitting in on to we were directly controlling the communications for a guy in one of the most important mayoral races in Frisco's history. And Frisco, Texas was at the point of this gold rush taking off. So it was very important. And here we were, an unknown team coming into this, doing complete communications from mailers to video series to websites to fill in the blank. And why I like that the most is I want to stay 400 feet away from anything political. And we were in there, and there were a couple times when it was getting nitty gritty. And I said, our only thing from the beginning was we're not getting dirty. And there were a couple of suggestions that came in. I said, when they wanted us to do some flyers, I said, Jeff, team, if this is the direction that we're going to go, then this is going to be the last thing we do for you, and we're going to move on because we're not getting into this. And the entire team, and I think it reflects in their office, said, you know what, you're right. And we pulled that back, and we did a complete race when the other side of the other competitor was getting very dirty, stayed 100% clean with what we did, and we won. And that was, you want to be the change you want to see in the world, and that's a very minute detail, but I'll tell you, being a part of a political campaign that stayed clean and won and did great things for the city and for the state and for everywhere else, that's a big deal for me.
That seems impossible with the 2020 election just ending.
Yeah.
It seems any sort of politics now is just such a...
Mudsling fest.
It is.
It's so disheartening. It's so disheartening to watch in this world, particularly as what goes viral, how you get attention, how you do these things. You know, just find those talking points and stick to it, and then don't deviate from those talking points. And, you know, the marketing side of me thinks kudos to you guys for staying on brand. But the disheartening thing is to see from both sides of the aisle, they're just going to grab those talking points, ram them into your head, whether they're true or not. And the amount of people that just take those as gospel on both sides, I think that's super disheartening to see.
How do you not fact check a debate where two people are just throwing lies back and forth? How is
I
that
really
2020
think
there's not just
people
a
are
fact
so headstrong in what it is. It doesn't matter what your candidate says. It doesn't matter. It's gospel. He can say literally, the moon is made out of cheese, and they're going to back him 1,000% just because I need to oppose the other side. So it doesn't matter. I mean, when you listen to the rhetoric that goes on, that's why me and my wife, one thing we agree with friends, family on that, we do not discuss politics at all. There's just no need to even waste our time with it. Even if we agree on the same thing, it's just, there's so many other things we can talk about because the news, the world, the internet, like social media. What would the world be like right now if we didn't have it? Like, remember when you used to have conversations, like had conversations?
I'll tell you, I'm in my first week of not having Facebook or Instagram on my phone.
You killed that Monday, didn't you?
I killed it on Sunday night.
Okay.
And I'm in my first week, and I was thinking about it today. I thought, and I'm curious what my numbers show on like moments and stuff like that, but I'm just cleaner, and I find myself far more connected with everything. I'm more connected. I can think. What I realized was how cloudy my mind was. Of if I have a down 40 seconds, I've got the phone in my hand. Just to, well, let me check something. How's this post doing? How's this doing? And it's not just it's just muscle memory at that point.
I'm
but
about to delete TikTok right now. I'm taking a step.
I'm telling you,
I just downloaded TikTok last night.
Hey, bro, it's a rabbit hole you may not never come back from.
and that is, I will say, I hope there's a swing towards doing these things and moving away from them, because it is, I don't feel as connected. If my phone is in the other room, I don't think about my phone, because so quickly you can snap off of that muscle memory and you don't grab that anymore. Oh, well, that's not an option. So that's the way it is.
Our agency also specializes in social media, so if you need any any of your social media needs covered, just give us a call.
We may not look at it, but
It's important. No, and we have the tools to watch it and see what's working and what isn't. But it's important because we have a pretty good understanding of how social media works and how infectious it is. And that's the reason why I'm staying off of it. Is, yeah, it's great if your consumers are on it, but it's a waste of our time as business owners to spend our time consuming other people's marketing. There's
good and bad portions to it, and it's just the bad is consumed so much recently, where it's just people violently screaming into nothing.
Especially with election stuff, and especially owning a cigar lounge where you have both sides of the aisle. I don't want to see what someone posts, and then when they walk in the door, see someone I've known for 10 years, and then all of a sudden have this new idea of who they are just because of what they post, because they're different than what they post, you know, to me at least. So I just had to purge. I'm happy with it.
What's your favorite project?
Fun wise, as far as just overall entertainment and just loving it and nostalgic, was the first time you and I went up to Crossing Creek, which is the
haunted mansion that's in Colorado.
That's the one. And even the second one we did, because we killed the second one.
Why don't we recap the first day of the first one?
The first day of the first one is, to give you an idea, this is about a 15,000 square foot mansion.
Let's start from just so the travel there. I mean, it's not an easy route to get there.
No, you land in Denver and you drive about 5.5 hours through the mountains to get there.
Where was the place we stopped to eat that was just dope as hell?
It's
on the way up.
It's called Ted's Number 2 or Ted's Number 3.
Remember that
in Aurora?
If you're saying go from the beginning to the end, I remember the grub we stopped and got, and then.
No, are you talking the first time we went up there?
I'm talking the first time before you went there, because the very first
this is the first trip you guys went on.
We traveled from DFW to Denver, 5-hour drive.
And we are in the middle of nowhere, and we're doing basically a real estate where we have to show the property and we have to show that. So drone videography is extremely important. We stop on the way and we see these elk on the side of the road. We put the drone in the air and we chase them. And I still have this footage, and we chase them real low and get into this whole herd of them. And it was beautiful. Get the drone back, we go. And then we wake up in the morning, we're going ready to do our stuff. We fire up, drone goes up in the air. We're doing some basic panning exercises, getting ready and getting it all set up. And then you saw that there's this cliff that goes down into the creek, and we brought the drone up, and then there was an error code, and it just locked up and just started boop, 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 just floating down.
The longest 12 seconds of our life trying to get this
floating down.
Back up.
Locked all controls, and because one of the motors failed, its mission isn't to fly back, it's just to keep it upright. So it's just upright, but slowly landing, and you can't control it. And I see on the camera on the monitor that we're right above the creek. That is during the melt from up in the mountain. So it's just
moving.
And it just goes down, hits a tree, dunks right in the water. We could have done the whole shoot with just the drone.
The entire real estate photography shoot could have been done on that one drone.
And it was in the creek.
Did y'all get it back, or it was swept away and gone?
Never saw it again. That thing is in the Indian Ocean right now, probably.
Wow, I did not know that story.
Yeah,
and
that was day one.
And that is in Montrose. No,
I think that's the closest
Montrose,
town.
Colorado.
And-
And then Grand Junction was the closest thing that had any sort of drone options, which was a 2.5 hour drive.
Yep. So we get in the car, we go sprinting over there because we're limited in time. We pick up another drone, we come back. It doesn't fly anything over 8,000 feet.
Yep. So as soon as we take it off, it just stays level with us because the elevation was so high.
It was at
the
8,000
GPS
feet.
wouldn't let it do it.
So we had no drone for the whole thing. But it was cool because it was just Gabe and I out there doing this. And that's really, I know we're kind of merging too, but the time that it was just you and I, we were out there for a week and we were getting star photography at night and we weren't sleeping much. We were just shooting a ton and we had this sleep deprivation set in, and to watch how funny our videos got throughout the week, it turned into this whole backstory of Gabe was a professional chucker where he would just skip rocks in all the ponds. And then he talked about how he won the Oreo skipping contest. I still want to find that.
My favorite video from that trip, I hope you know where I'm going with this, is
It's after the burrito.
about a 6 a.m. sunrise shoot where we pull out. There's a couple young deer crossing the road. I'm on my 200 millimeter, fully racked on this deer, trying to get stabilized a little bit. And you just hear Brandon giggling, and all of a sudden just a boop, boop. And the audio is just so clear in my head of what the fart sounded like, but then him giggling and me, I could taste it. I could taste the burrito that he had the night before, and I'm just trying to watch these deer, and they're looking at me. They're looking at us like we're idiots. They're like, these dumbasses don't have a gun. We're fine. So they just kind of keep slowly walking across the road. But that
I think they could have tasted it too.
that fart video is that's some of your best work.
Yeah.
I remember on the second trip, the one I went on.
Oh
we
no,
were
we
trying to
getting
go
into
to-
Brandon fart stories now?
No,
Okay, good.
no, I'm leaving on. But when we were held hostage by that elk on the road that we drove behind for what seemed like a half hour. When he
Oh
would-
yeah, we were chasing it.
Were we chasing him or were we? Just
We were trying to get around it. We were trying to
Right.
race it,
and he kept
blocking the inside lines.
Wildlife, y'all. Yeah, you don't see.
Yeah,
you
we-
don't see many elk in Omaha, Nebraska, where I'm from. So yeah,
Yeah, you get to see a lot of
wild.
cool things that we've been able to see. I think I think that was a fun nostalgic memory, but just from soup to nuts, my favorite was the Artisans video when we went to Nicaragua and shot that for Crux. We had great planning behind it. We had great support in the factory. We got to go everywhere we wanted to go, plus some. We had the right equipment to do it. We had
I think
the
that
right
was,
team.
I think it was our first, one of our first just projects where we knew exactly what every frame was supposed to look like before going in, and realizing the power of a solid production plan, which sounds kind of weird to say that far into the kind of go local aspect, but having that, knowing and directing that from very start. I mean, weeks of planning before getting to Nicaragua and understanding how much better the project came because of that.
To take a vision and put it on paper and then step by step it just made it every day seem like at the end of the day it was like, yes, we got that in the pocket. So I can see how a real live movie or production is done, because if you get your shots done for a day and you can say wrap, you know you've got that in the bucket before you go back to edit. That's just the feeling of wow. And then to be in a factory where everybody, if you don't know the cigar industry, they say a lot of factories it's like slavery and people are miserable and they're no whatever. I've seen some of the happiest people I've ever seen working in this place, and everybody was so willing to help us out to do anything we needed to do. We had trick shots when we're literally with a camera underneath the table as a guy was laying out the cigar wrapper and doing like anything we needed. They were there. They were cool to do. Some people, after wrapping cigars for 12 hours, stayed after work late to help us out to do shots, and it was wild.
Mm-hmm. And it turned out the product ended up really solid.
We
so
need to submit that to something somewhere to somehow, because that thing is so dope.
it's cool. That's cool. Biz, what's been the thing you've enjoyed the most?
The Nicaragua one. That was it. Nicaragua was just I love the travel though too, but just seeing and seeing the Even though I heard things were kind of crazy over there, we didn't see any of it. No,
Well, we
my
did
trip-
get shook down in the van.
Oh man,
With the dude with the AK
That
pointing
was
at the
dope.
van.
Yeah, out of all the cars doing 90 miles an hour on the road, we are the only one that gets stopped. You got 4 white dudes and a brother sitting in the back of his van, smoking and puffing cigars, and 2 dudes on motorcycles with AK come up, ask the driver to step out. I was like, damn.
The dudes were in police attire.
Kind of.
At
In
least.
third world
Kind of.
countries, that don't mean nothing. Yeah, he had a polo with Policia on it.
The level of just what's the word I'm looking for?
Trigger discipline is
Trigger
terrible.
yes.
They have the gun pointed anywhere they wanted to, just slung over, just pointing at everybody.
The
If he
guy
would have
with
bumped
the
the side of the
shotgun-
car, it would have went off.
The guy with the shotgun resting on his nose, literally on his nose.
I didn't see
chilling.
that.
He's a security guard with a sawed-off shotgun sitting on his foot, and then the barrel.
Basically suicide.
on
Like,
his nose.
wasn't there armed guards at the rest stops we went to? Like we stopped to use the bathroom?
Yeah, so it's basically, that's a political stand where they've given up, the Nicaraguan government has given up that right of passage through there. So the Sandinistas, to keep it from being a civil war, will allow a certain amount of shakedowns to keep them funded and keep them
It was
happy.
like $50 and we were on our way or something.
Yeah,
like
I think
It was a procedure that the driver knew how to
He knew it
handle
already. Yeah,
very
he just
well.
no one was real shook about what was happening. They just needed their money and move forward.
and we were good to go. But just eye opening. Just the travel part to see what's up. Even we went out one night, for some R&R and the culture and the DJs and hanging out with the Hogans after hours was definitely dope. That was fun. It's because of what we accomplished in that time and had a good time and got to see more. But it made me say, I want to do this again. I want to do this again. Let's try something else. Can we outdo this project for another client? Like for me right now, would you say Artisans is probably the best body of work that we've done as an agency?
Video production wise,
Yes. Let's say, I forgot. We do so many things. If you say, so let me turn the question to you this. What would you say would be best video, best campaign? I don't know. It's not really a competition. Everything we do is supposed to be top notch for everybody, so I don't think we can compare it.
and everyone's different.
Yeah.
And I think that mentality of trying to outdo ourselves is a big thing that we have. It's we never get stagnant. We never repeat the same process over and over. It's a brand new.
No.
Everything starts with a storyboard, a plan, and really challenging.
And different outcomes. Because if you take that outcome and then work it backwards, you could say that the Crux rebrand has been the most successful because it took their already flourishing business and for those retailers has increased their sales by 3x during a pandemic.
I lied. That's number one, but the funnest thing I've ever done is freaking his thing. What's my man's name?
Dave Hams.
Dave Hams. That is the most fun.
For HI Agency Insurance.
HI Insurance Agency. That is, I still watch those and show it to people and die laughing. Like, that's probably, and that's just to say, so if you look at, and that's what the big deal is about go local. We don't need a huge portfolio of a big bunch of multi-Forbes type companies. When you get medium level, that type of deal where you can really focus in on what the client's looking for and tailor it to them. And then we jump into each project and have a ball doing it. And that HI agency spot, those spots were just so spot on to what I'm saying. Like, and it's total opposite of what Artisans was. It's total opposite of Find Your Crux. It was something different, which made it exciting.
Yeah, I agree. But if you look at that, I don't think you could say, I think you'd have to break it down by client of what was the best video for this client, what was the best video for this, because every single ICC.
Welcome to ICC.
I mean, ICC, that video was great, but also keep in mind, because of our effort, in our first year of business, we reached a level of business that only 10% of cigar lounges reach internationally throughout their entire life. So we did a good job of marketing it before it opened and then continuously growing it. And now we're hitting record month after record month, but that's a massive win.
As an agency, we did a 48-hour turnaround to launch the e-commerce site for ICC.
Yeah, we should talk about that because just the agility was unbelievable.
Yeah, you go ahead and kind of give a.
Well, basically, in late February 2020, they let us know that in Texas there was going to be an executive order that shuts down all retail business, all bars, all lounges, any sort of business. And that was on a Tuesday, and the executive order was going to start on a Friday. So we had from Tuesday to Friday to figure out how we take our retail business and lounge, which is a brick and mortar, requires you to come in. How are we going to pivot our business model and then create the infrastructure to pivot and keep our business alive in this difficult time? So we realized our opportunity was in e-commerce and local delivery and offering new levels of service that was not available anywhere else. So that's when I went with you guys and said, hey, what if we just took everything that we have and we just go e-com with it, build a full system. Oh, and we also have 3 days to do full layout, full copy, full product photography, plus email to let everyone know. We had a full encompassing campaign that we had to do in 72 hours. Otherwise, we were going to be in deep shit. Mm-hmm. So your responses immediately were, let's do it.
Yeah, we were kind of geeked up about it.
Yeah, it wasn't an option. It was one of our kind of founding clients in kind of a dire situation that there wasn't another option. It was, we're going to stay up late, get up early, and get this done no matter what.
Took 200 photos in one day, just in the back on the white sheets of paper and getting it. But now it's just, that's built, it's done. And what were the results because of building that e-commerce platform?
Well, not only did it float our business, but it has been continuously growing. So, not getting too much into the numbers of it, but we are doing equivalent numbers in our e-commerce system now as some cigar lounges do in total business. So our monthly e-commerce, which is just an add-on to what our business is, what would sustain and what other businesses in the area have done. Just that's what they do in their total business. That's a big deal. And we're now able to hit people who don't come into the lounge, that are patio, that sit on the patio, that see this, that we get connections with, that we get to introduce them to new product. It really is a fairy tale ending when it comes to it, because it's now a recurring part of our business that allows us to grow.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of a tough industry too, because you can't market or pay for marketing tobacco products. So the fact that you're still getting multiple new users, you said something like 40 a week, roughly?
What we're getting right now, and I'll have to check the most up-to-date stuff, but before this, we were bringing in about 4.5, somewhere in that ballpark, 4.5 new customers per week. After this, we're now hitting almost 12 a day of new customers who are coming in. That is massive when you're talking about that. That compounds massively. And in a business that can only grow by word of mouth with no paid advertising allowed, boy, that's a big deal.
But that's just one of the approaches that as an agency we've done, because one thing that's dope about what we do is all of our clients have a certain niche, a certain, what's the word I'm looking for? They have an issue, a problem.
Limit.
Just so we work within that, and we actually take that and use that to our advantage. The scope. So that's each end of the project I'm working on now, begin text messages for what I have to shoot next week. Here's this, here's that, here's this, here's that. And when you have a client that's just as hype or more hyped than you are to do it, so they're giving you everything you need, you can really tailor that fit and really deliver something, or over-deliver something that they want. And that's where I see a lot of content creators and all these guys that are out there, and a lot of guys that I now study, thanks to you guys, that do such dope work. And you're like, these guys are just individuals creating work, and they do a lot for themselves, just for Instagram just for the look of it. I'm like, man, imagine if you were really dialed in and providing the same look for people. And that's what motivates me. How can I take this? And sometimes we overdo it, or even we may overdo it to where it's so extravagant. The client's like, oh my God,
Tone it back.
I can't breathe. Can you pull back just a little bit? It's like, bet we can do that. If you're saying that's fine. So
You say that like it's easy. We were just having that conversation.
well, that's why I said it.
Like,
It's like,
how do we pull back on quality?
actually, you can't. But it's just. But what did we learn? We had an exercise where if a client says, "Yo, man, this is so over the top," we don't sacrifice anything. We just find a different approach to it. You still do everything you do because you can't do nothing but your best every time you do anything. Just find a different way to approach it, which then matches their expectations a little bit more. So it may look tuned down a little bit to them, and actually all we did was change the composition, change the subject, change whatever it is, change the approach to the campaign, and it's there. But that's how you work it. Mm-hmm. Even our approach to that issue we were talking about, I think actually production level may go up a little bit, but just the compositions are going to be a little bit different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. I mean, it's when I look at it too, it's identifying, and this is why we work with people over a longer period of time, right? Is because we can look at it and say, this is working. Let's change this. Now let's pivot. Let's pivot our mindset. Let's see how this works. So that's where I want to get in almost and just throw that out there. Failures. What are some failures we've had that we've learned from?
I got a good one to start with. Probably my first real estate photography. It was kind of a new realm for me. I had been in photography for a while, but understanding just lighting, composition, and trying to maybe over promise my ability to handle this project. So I can back up a little bit, kind of go back to my roots and say in 2017, my house burnt down, and a month later I totaled my car. So I was living with Brandon. He really kind of picked me up and took me in for a little bit until I get back on my feet. And so going back to the real estate, I was supposed to show up at 4. I leave maybe I would have been a little tight on time regardless, but take Brandon's car. It needed gas. I go to get gas. My card's not working. I go inside. Card's still not working. Decline. Finally, after about 10 minutes of messing with it, calling the bank, get the card to work, pump the gas. Brandon's truck was in some sort of neutral. I couldn't get it into drive. And I ended up being about 15 minutes late to this shoot, which you can work around that. I get there. I realize I left my pack of batteries at Brandon's house, a 45-minute drive. I'm sitting there with the real estate agent, with his client in their house. They're late to an event for one of their sons or daughters, and I'm holding them up because I was unprepared. And finally, I get the battery from Brandon, have to rush everything. The lighting's not right, composition's not right on any of the shots. Deliver the product, client is not happy, and it was one of the worst feelings I've had. It was almost to a position or a point where he didn't know how to move forward. He's like, I can't trust these guys again. And it was the biggest failure that I've personally had. And shout out to Lee at the shop. Sorry. But I think we did make it right. We were able to do some video with them, and we did get back on the right page.
Yeah, and we've worked with him a number of times since then. It was a great rebound, and shout out to Lee because he is a guy of character, and he represents his clients, and we were able to just connect and have a really good conversation with him. He allowed us to make it right, which we did, and we grew from that. But yeah, I do remember that because I remember that being Mother's Day weekend, and I was going to, when we delivered that, I was on my way to San Antonio. I just remember, if I think of San Antonio, I remember that, you remember that emotional state you were in. If I even hear the word San Antonio, I remember that weekend. Like, I know I'm supposed to be enjoying this, but I know that not everything is right in the world right now.
Yeah.
But you have to have those.
Yeah, and that just goes back to, if anybody's actually watching this from a marketing perspective, know your role and understand what you can do. Don't try to replace quality by just knocking it out yourself. This is something that we should have had somebody either professionally do it, or we should have test run. There's so many things we could have done better with that project, and it taught a lot about just self-awareness of your own abilities.
Know your strengths. Mm-hmm. We talk about that a lot. Know your strengths. I mean, I can shoot the heck out of video. I can edit it too, to a certain degree, but when so many things are going on, sometimes these guys take the editing process over a lot quicker, and then they know the end result as well. It just speeds it up. Like, I've been doing freaking Premiere Pro for 10 years, and every day I get next to him, he shows me a shortcut I had no idea exists. Like, you can do this? You can do what? You can do this? You can do what? But it just makes it efficient. So when you have a team of people that have a strength in certain areas, that's the part you assign them. Admins and details, same all day. I'm more of a visual. Just visual, that's what I do.
That's something Gabe and I have been speaking about, is just putting people in a point of their strengths so they can get stronger at their strengths, versus you don't want to have somebody that has a bunch of mediocre weaknesses. You want somebody who's really strong at their strengths.
Now, we haven't mentioned, segueing into that, we haven't mentioned the other part of the crew. It's not just us.
Right.
We actually have, is it 3 other team? I know 2 personally, but I think I've heard a third one just kind of slipped in, team members that do some of the heavy lifting.
So we're kind of the core in Dallas. We do have a few other very important members who are remote that I met in Europe on a long trip that I did, who've become really what I think the future of the business is going to be. Mike Valenti, Ali Hutzler, and they're in Phoenix and Canada right now. And they're just couldn't be more happy with what they've been doing.
They really are incredible.
They've single-handedly given us the mindset of how to grow the agency and become, because for years before bringing Busy on, we had a few people who came in and burnt out. And I think a big part of having a small agency is understanding that you might not have the time to train somebody to do everything exactly, but if you hire somebody who knows what they're doing, and it's just such a different feeling when you hire somebody who's better than you at the task that you need and let them do their thing. Like Busy with the photography goes back. Like if I would have had the entire real estate situation would have never happened if we would have known Busy in that time, because he had the expertise to do it, where I was just trying to fill a gap that a client needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's a huge learning experience from a leadership standpoint. Probably one of the biggest learning experiences I've had is the amount of young talent we've brought in, because it's cheap. And you bring in a young person with the idea of, okay, we'll train them our way. But the reality is our way is not the perfect way. So we need to have people in these different areas who are better than us to show us a better way in that area. And once we get to that point, we can start bringing on interns and growing them into those positions. But one thing that I've noticed, and I think Gabe, you pretty much, lack of better terms, fucked this up, was because I could go to you and say, I need you to take ownership in this, this, this. And you went, got it. But the term of, I need you to take ownership in this, very few young people especially understand what that means, understand what ownership means, and just grind it out until their area is complete and buttoned up. And we look at certain guys like, remember Austin? That was...
We'll bleep that out.
Yeah.
Remember, beep!
But there have been a number of people that have come and gone quickly and washed out. One, because they couldn't keep pace. But 2, because a failure of leadership from my side, from our side collectively. And we had one individual who was with us that was fantastic at what they did. And we just, from a leadership standpoint, didn't weren't quite at that point to keep them engaged, I think, and bringing these new elements and these new pieces into it. They know how to stay engaged and know how to complete task and then know what is next. And that's a huge point of
and just not complete task and just sit until something else happens. It's the proactive mindset that has to be available.
That has to be learned. I had issues with that when I first started. I was just like, okay, got this done. What's next?
I think everybody has to learn that.
Yeah, because I come from a background of I'm running a shop. I'm actually GM in a whole company, so my whole job is to delegate, show up, make sure things are cool, and have it, and to kind of go back into worker bee mode, and then to understand. I mean, literally, it took me I can honestly say I'm just now coming around to now proactively just jumping out the box and doing stuff myself, ownership and things like that, because you're like, we got this project and you give me this much, I'm just going to do this, boom, I'm done. You know, but at the time though, earlier on, I wasn't really in on a lot of the planning, or you two guys would just talk, and then I would get a kind of third party. Oh yeah, by the way, but now that I'm in the conversations where I get it, or some things it's like, okay, creatively, we know what the plan is, but then I can actually do a couple of extra this, a couple of extra that, to where now we can all show up, and if we do something, if it's photo, video, I got it. It's cool, I got it. The plan's there. Then I know I can turn it over to Gabe's department and be like, okay, graphics wise, conceptual wise, check this out. What can it add? What can it do? And he said, I'll take the ball and I'll get this and that and that. You know, it's synergy. Everything. A football team takes 2 or 3 years to get right together. A team, when it works, and now I think we've got we were just talking just this week alone, even though it's Thursday already. I mean, literally it was just Monday yesterday, but this has been a good synergy week. I really feel so. Things are getting knocked down. Things are getting done. We knocked out some really good shoots last week. Some plans have come abreast, and it reflects in our clients' reaction. When COVID shut us down with Crux and some other people, man, what are we going to do? They're gone. They're right back, because the world needed to do what it needed to do, but they came right back. You know, when people know if there's anything else that, you know, the people from the Cheney Group and all those, they say, hey, we got a project. You know, who do they call first? Those are the relationships that you want due to what you did for them.
Yeah, I completely agree in that recurring, revolving business relationship that we've had for a number of times. We know a particular client, where I don't know if it's personalities, I don't know what it is, but they always come back, and they'll go, and you can't, you know, that old adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. And we'll run what we've installed, and then they decide to go to their old side. So then they bring in someone else who feeds that need, which is not what they really need. And then a few months later, knock on the door, here they are again. Okay, then we got to restart, which is admittedly frustrating, but it's part of that flow where we find that
it can be a hard industry to see value in immediately. Also, with a lot of what we do requires a little bit of organic growth and time, and so sometimes if a client doesn't see immediate results, it's hard to sometimes say, "Well, just give it another month or two," and it's a tried and proven system.
Well, Crux was that exact same way. Crux got in and they said, you know, I'm not sure exactly where we're at, how we're growing, what this looks like. We could show them some metrics, and it was ticking up. But then you just have to be at that water well. Just keep pumping. Don't stop. You see a couple drops, you've got to stay at it. And now you see what's happening. And it was the way that COVID impacted their business. We thought they'd be out for much longer. But then that door knocked much quicker than I anticipated. And they're, okay, let's do this, let's do that, and let's start growing that, because they saw, just trust the system, let's run with it, we're going to produce high quality, it will be digested, and it will be built in the right way. It won't be chasing the next trend, it won't be chasing that, and hopefully you hit one. We'll always throw a line in that realm, but it's going to be organic. So the growth that is there, just from an ICC standpoint, it's recurring, retained business of the quality customers, clients, members that you need.
COVID for us, It's a horrible thing in the world. Let's make that factor. You know, I never want to say the pandemic was the greatest thing. It's one of the biggest boosts we've had for business, just because the world literally had to turn their attention online. You know, and I feel sorry for anybody. We've all been experienced, you know, as far as losses with people and family because of COVID. But from a business standpoint, I think it actually ramped up. But everybody else kind of had to go in chill mode, where I think we ramped up 200%. A lot of people had to depend. So now it's kind of become the norm. Content, online presence. Think about this. There's no real brick and mortar shopping going on for Christmas this year. None. And people are starving for content. People are looking for new trends. People are looking at everything. So everything that we're doing now that's online, it's crazy. Like this iPhone 12 to me has been the first resurge in phone sales in 3 or 4 years, because it's just another phone. It's just another phone. But now that most of your television watching, most of your buying, most of your interaction is strictly on this thing, and even on your TV, people are now turning to us again. They need some fancy, you know, we need more content. We need more high energy, whatever stuff, because most of our sales are now going to rely upon this.
Have you seen the LiDAR scanner on the new iPhone?
I know what it is, but is that this little thingy right here?
Yep. So you can take that. There's an app you can download, and you can scan a room and have a 3D model of a room based off of just walking it around, showing every bit of it, and you literally 3D render an entire room by scanning it.
Imagine what that can do for real estate. Imagine what that can do for department. Imagine what that do for somebody that designs furniture, and they can put it in a room. You can't see me looking at Gabe. It's a long story. We'll talk about it. But just even that alone, that technology that you just said right there, imagine if we can take that and incorporate that to what we do. I think we just came up with something. So anyway, but that alone.
So I'm not the only one that looks like I mess up. What are your guys' biggest failures?
Ooh, I
have a lot of
time for me.
I have a lot of them.
Dang. This is the part we're going to have to edit this out and make it just go slower, because I have to think, like, what did I really screw up on? So many. One really doesn't. So tell us, if you come to mind, think about one. Like, what ball did I drop? Because with me, it's either going to be timing, but as far as execution,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think you'll probably be late to your own funeral.
I've gotten better at that, though.
Yeah, you have.
I've gotten way better at that. And that's the issue that's been with me for freaking ever. Because so now, yesterday it happened, the gym. I call a gym session, and I'm 10 minutes late. So this is why I'm always late. I'm literally blaming it on, and I've been working. Nowadays, when he comes to pick me up to come to your house, I'm outside with all my stuff already ready, because I have to get ready. Tell me that something is going to be 30 minutes before it actually is. I have OCD so bad, and this is why I'm always late, because I'm leaving the house and I'll see something out of place and I got to fix it.
I have a pretty funny one for you.
Oh, so he figured out something.
That happened like 5 days ago. We had a Crux cigar shoot.
I was going to say that, but I didn't. Okay, yeah, go ahead. Say what it is, because I didn't know.
We had a shoot. We wanted to do something outdoors, sunset, gold light, just golden hour.
Oh, no, that wasn't even what I was thinking of.
So
all right.
we scout some projects a little early, or scout some areas, sorry.
Yeah.
A little early. We take my 4Runner, scratch it up through all these bushes, get finally set up, perfect lighting. We have my bike set up, everything's ready. And then the only thing that we forgot was the cigars that we needed to shoot in the project.
They were sitting in my car back in Brandon's house.
So we turned around, scratched my car up again, get to the place. We ended up making it back in time. We were close enough that it worked. But the one thing you can't forget to a product shoot is the product.
I felt so bad. And Gabe handled it in such stride. When I say I was beating myself, I'm talking about, y'all, imagine the beginning of the Indiana Jones movie when he's going through the brush and there's like poisonous arrows being shot at you. And like we literally went through a 4Runner commercial. We're driving through. There was old people on the trail, and we were moving them out the way. There was a dude out there trying to fish, and Gabe like, hey man, you gotta move. Like we were in it. And we get there, we set everything up, and I go to my backpack, and I said, damn, you got my backpack? And he says, no, you got it. I said, shit. And we had to redo all that stuff again, do 80 miles an hour back to your house, grab this stupid backpack, and go move all the old people and the fishermen out of the way again. And then we set up. But the shots were beautiful. But I thought you were going to tell about when they gave me a campaign to introduce a new cigar for a client, well, for Crux. And I'm thinking because I got sent from the factory a certain type of cigar that was the cigar, and it wasn't. And my lack of cigar knowledge, I'm trying to get better. I shoot all these shots with the wrong cigar. I'm all proud. I'm presenting it like boom, bam, boom.
They were
and they're
beautiful
just like,
shots that
great.
we can't
Like,
use ever.
that's not it. I was like, oh shit. That's like 3 days. And I did, so I had to reshoot that. But as far as a major, or even the wax shots I took for the house sticks, like I have this thing where I have to warm up shoot. I shot the first ones in the humidor on top of the thing and they were like blah. They were okay, but
Yeah, they
blah.
weren't very good, but it was just part of, you've got to find that
I
composition. You got to find it.
So what they'll do is if I shoot something, they're like, yeah, bitch, it's okay. It's okay. It's good. It's not you, but it's okay. And when they say that, my brain switches in and then I can really, really create. So I need like a do-over occasionally to really get into it. But once we all get into the creative mode, one thing is if you ever get a chance, if you ever hire us, if you're on set or anything of our creative sessions, once we get to having fun and get the moving and you see how the magic comes together, it's crazy. Time flies, man. We'll shoot 12 hours in Nicaragua and it felt like 30 minutes, you know? I'd say to anybody, no matter what your profession is or what you do or what you're looking for, this is one of the few things, and no matter what our outside interests are, we're still doing what we love to do.
I think one of my favorite things about you is you're the oldest person on our team, and but you're just genuine curiosity and interest in becoming better at what you do, which you're already great at a lot of things, but seeing a new way to shoot a video and watching you watch 15 YouTube videos overnight and come back with this crazy idea is just, it's a really cool, having an ego in an industry like this is not going to work. You got to be able to listen to a client. You got to be able to listen to the team that you're working with. And you have to realize that your way is not the only way of doing something.
Oh, heck yeah. And the thing I'm learning too is I learned it in college was taking criticism because, you know, getting my photography degree, you know, they would slam your work every week or do whatever. I mean, we butt heads and whatever. We may disagree or do whatever. But the one thing I love about it, we're brothers, you know, so brothers can disagree. We agree way more than that, and we get how we do things, learning personalities, how you get it, how you want it. And it's grown into such a synergy in a relationship to where now if my work is critiqued or corrected, whatever, I don't take it as an ego hit. I take it as, okay, this is not what you're looking for. What can I do? But now my mission is how can I do or really surprise these guys? So if I come with some tips like, boom, you wasn't expecting this, was you? Ha, you know, get it, got it. And it just makes our work better.
There is an internal competitiveness. We always want to add
sure.
to each other. I love that about our team.
And all of us have earned our stripes in what we're doing. So we know if I put something out and you're like, not good enough, you're right. You're right. It's not good enough.
It's always, there's an internal check that nobody counters. There's no, this is the right way.
No, this is what I'm here for.
Yeah.
No, you hired me for that. No.
We're redoing this.
Yeah.
We're making this perfect.
And it bounces back.
He did the beats video. I don't think you guys give enough credit to that. The beat video, when you put all that stuff to a drum beat, that's what motivated me to do the ICC video and really learn speed ramping and everything else. Even though he directed the vision, when you did the beats video and then you did Artisan, it's like, well, shit, I ain't got nothing like this. I need something that's going to at least be on caliber that I can throw into the pot that's just so dope.
That ICC welcome to the family video is dope as shit too. What I'm sitting and thinking about all of my major mess ups.
I'm thinking about a
I
time.
don't know.
So I think the ones we just talked about with you really aren't that big of an issue because they're all something that we had time built in.
Well, you got to
were able
understand,
go
coming
back.
on with you guys, you were able to chin check anything, so nothing effed up would get out.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
and I think the biggest part and what I'm looking for and when I ask for a failure is when you delivered something to a client knowing that it wouldn't have passed the internal test.
I don't think I haven't been allowed to do it yet because you guys have actually gotten the processes of checking some balances in, so where we don't do that. So externally, I don't have any because we get it at the gate and we redo it before it goes out.
Yeah, I'm not sure you've had anything that's been detrimental that we've had to.
Yeah, well, just don't let it get. Don't go on vacation when I have something due, and we'll be good.
I don't know. What do you think? What do you think? Where's my major mess up?
Maybe I am the only one that actually misses.
No, that's not the case. That because I remember having that sinking feeling.
Could it be a
handful of
communication
times.
something that maybe fell through, or
I know I
that's
have
your
a
department.
I have a lot of failures in this organization. I'm trying to think of just gut dropping. I shouldn't have said that. Shouldn't have done that.
It was before me.
Yeah, I think we had grown so much by the time you were on. I know that there were certain things within quoting and pricing projects out where there was one. We worked with this company that's in a sprint to make it to $1 billion in 5 years, something like that. Massive company. And we do this video for them that we price out based on how our current model at that time had been priced out. And we gave them revisions. We pulled them favors, and we did a video for, I don't know, $7,000. And we did 2 videos for very inexpensive. And this is a big, big company. And we go through, we deliver it, but we hadn't worked at this point with a company that had 4 different levels of approval and 4 different visionaries. So we had in these 2 videos, I think we finished in version 14 in one video and version maybe 14 in the other video, 12, 14, something like that. But the amount of time and revisions that we had, it would have tripled or quadrupled the actual cost of the project, and it would have actually showed up on their accounts payable far larger than what our tiny little invoice was. We had this tiny little invoice at the end, and it took them 8 months to pay us, and we had put in 70 hours per video into this thing, and everything was, we need it now, and it was all turnaround. It was flying through. So not appropriately quoting it and building in certain amount of rounds of approval and then a price per after that. Once we did it the second time around, by the time they got to their 14th round of revisions, we're going, shoot, we'll give you everything you're asking for. Feel free to take as many revisions as you want, because we learned on that side of things of, man, we're giving away our time for free.
So that failure was very much just a lesson.
It was a lesson.
It was a lesson.
And for anybody actually watching this, for a marketing standpoint, charge a deposit to get work going, and charge for revisions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sure you're not in a real tough
Work
spot.
on your contracts.
Yeah, and that's a big thing where I'm at is my grandfather taught me, don't trust anyone that requires a contract in order to work. And so that was instilled in me when I was young, and knowing how the world works in Omaha, Nebraska versus how the world works in Dallas, Texas, and with modern day, you really have to integrate and make yourself, if you're a one-man marketer, you need to handle yourself. Don't act as though you're a massive agency, but you need to handle yourself in accordance with that, where you're not devaluing yourself by saying, oh yeah, I'm going to get that to you and then pay me when you pay you. That, and I know we trip, another failure of mine is we trip on that from time to time is, okay, we do it in good faith, we get it done, and then we're sitting here you're kind of waiting. And if you're a one-man show, still require that deposit, still require clarity. And I think that's probably a clarity point where if you are on a retainer basis, a great kind of tip to run off of, if you're on a retainer basis, set that up so you'll have to repitch, but that retainer can't be ambiguous. That retainer has to be very clear. You get this, and with this many hours, you get this, or you get this many things that are together, and everything above and beyond this point will be requoted, rebilled, and outside of scope. Identifying scope and expectation will create a situation where if someone ever asks, what am I getting for what I'm paying? Right here is exactly what you get, what you pay for. And when they have those additionals, to stop and say, this is outside of scope, and it's at the beginning, it's an uncomfortable thing if you're used to just flowing in there. It's an uncomfortable conversation of saying
talking numbers with clients in general is pretty. It's pretty hard to do, and it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be, and it isn't if you do it from the beginning. It really isn't if you say this is what our cost is for this, and this is scope, and being very disciplined if this is out of scope, this is where it is. It will never rely, because if you develop good relationships that are friendships, you can keep it. You can wear two hats and set it down and say, okay, this is outside of scope.
One of the hardest things is to do, though, is because of the way Go Local is, because I've had this issue all my life. It's hard to charge your friends money. Just theoretically, because these are people that you deal with even before you had to charge them for services. So a lot of our Go Local clients started off as actual personal friends with businesses. So to manage those expectations, to make them understand that, hey, this is still business, and we may, initially you may have approached it too late, because I remember when I first moved here in 2016 as a photographer, and I still had Omaha prices in a Dallas market. And a lady saw my work, saw my website. She's like, oh my God, amazing, amazing. I need you to shoot my wedding. Da, 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 da. I gave her the pricing sheet, and she says, no, thank you. And my first reaction was, oh my God, are these too high? She says, no, these are way too low. There must be a catch. This must be a scam. And I'm looking at these prices. I'm like, I couldn't even get half the people in Omaha to shoot at this. And you're saying this is too low? And she honest, and I thought, she ain't got the money. No, the photographer she hired was like $5,000 more than me. And just to see that totally changed my, what do we always talk about? Mindset. Totally flipped my mindset out. It's like, wow, like this is a little bit more. I mean, I'm not saying everybody's willing to spend a lot of money, but you have to understand this is an affluent market. So they will pay good money for good results if they see the work. And she actually did not trust my prices or didn't believe it was my photography because of what I was charging.
Yeah, don't undervalue.
Don't undervalue.
I've had to learn that, man.
But also, if you're a business, don't overpay as well, and finding out who those individuals are, and finding out our prices are what they are because we operate under pretty tight margins. So that way our businesses can do more with them, or our clients can do more with them. But if you have, actually going back to the Cheney, before he hired us, he was also meeting with another web company. They pulled up to an event in a Lamborghini, and they did his website for him. And he said, and I remember him asking me, am I paying those guys too much? I said, boy, Lamborghini's pretty expensive. I mean, you've got this guy coming out with new tags on there. I said that maybe he's killing it. Maybe you guys are just absolutely killing it with him. But if they're pulling up in brand new Lamborghinis, and maybe they're just killing it and they do a great job, but you also need to be careful with how your money's being spent as a small business, and not spending, not going to the biggest agency because of the biggest agency.
If you've hung up with us on this podcast this whole time, I think one of the key things is you've gotten to know us a little bit. So you can actually see our personas, how we approach things, how we look at stuff, because that's a part of it. We're not super, me and Brandon are car nuts. Gabe is more that all-around guy that doesn't care about cars. He just likes to, what do you do, bat suit, jump off of cliffs and dirt bikes, and that's them. That's their thing. But we're normal people. That's what I'm saying. It's not a big stuffy suit, Mad Men advertising agency. We're guys that love what we do, very good at it, very focused on it, and you get it. So the value you see is there, but also in the personas. And I think that's so much better to have somebody that's more on a level that you can relate to versus that you're dealing with people that seem unattainable. Mm-hmm. It just makes sense. So you see the value in what we do just by our track record. If you look at the website, look at the work, speak with the clients, versus, okay, I choose you because you drive a Lamborghini. Mm-hmm. That makes no sense.
I would still like to have a Lamborghini.
Yeah,
I'm not dissing the Lambo. I'm not dissing it, but just because, it's like the guys on the internet that say, hey, we can make you rich. I got my sick new Lamborghini in my garage. Follow my steps or whatever. That's not the point. That's not the guys we're trying to get you. It's more of let the work speak for itself. That was a cheer. No, thank God. We're really letting you get personal now if that was really what I thought it was.
I think that might be a good point to wrap it, maybe.
Sure.
First one?
For the first one, it wasn't that bad. Didn't hurt that much.
No, I would say so.
Cool. Well, thanks for watching. If you got this far.
Yeah, if you got this far.
You a trooper.
For real. How do we close it?
Oh, there you go. Fist bump. There you
First podcast on 3.
go. 1, 2, 3.
First podcast.
Boom.
First podcast. We'll get better.
Cool.
Thanks.